Boy, oh boy, have you ever been more delusional? Hey everybody, it's V. Welcome to the channel if you're new, and welcome back if you're not. I'm pretty sure that if you're thinking of moving abroad, you would have at some point done a little bit of research into what it's like living in the country of your choice. And I'm also sure that along the way, you've ran into some myths about what it's like living abroad in general. In this video, I go over some of these myths to give you a better idea of what it's really like to live abroad. Number 1, it's cheap and you can live for next to nothing. This is probably one of the biggest myths when it comes to living abroad, especially in countries like Thailand, where a lot of people think everything is cheaper compared to where they come from. That might be the case with certain things, but definitely not everything. Surely if you move from a major metropolitan area such as Cape Town or New York and so forth to a small rural village in the middle of nowhere in northern Thailand, you would likely be able to save a ton of money. But moving to a similar major city or resort area may not have the same results. If saving money is your biggest goal, you might have to prepare for a change in lifestyle. This is not necessarily always the case, but you have to bear that in mind. One of the biggest expenses, whether abroad or in your home country, is obviously housing. And depending on where you're planning to move, the type of lifestyle you want to achieve, and maybe the level of convenience you want, this can get really pricey. Then there's also utilities, food, transport, and entertainment. So really do your research when you're planning on moving abroad, and make sure that you don't have it in your mind that you're just going to live cheaply, because you might be pleasantly surprised. Number 2, it will feel like you're on a vacation all the time. Boy, oh boy, have you ever been more delusional? This might be true for those people who are in a financial position to actually do this, but for the rest of us, not so much. You have to remember that just because you're deciding to move to a new location that you hopefully have done a ton of research on, that does not automatically mean that your life will now run smoothly and that you will have nothing to worry about ever again. You still have to work, whether this means going to an actual physical place or whether this is online. You will most probably also quickly fall into a routine, and for the most part that routine will not include laying on a beach with a few drinks next to you or going on some safari taking selfies with elephants and lions. One advantage of moving abroad, depending obviously on where you're moving to, might be that you can more easily travel to new and different places. For example, it's easier and cheaper to travel from Thailand to its neighboring countries as opposed to traveling to those countries from my home country, which is South Africa. Please remember that your daily life will not magically become a vacation just because you're now living in a new place. Number 3, you will miss everything from your old life. It's quite obvious that when you move abroad, there will be certain things in your old life that you will no longer have access to or easy access to. Your favorite little coffee shop just 10 steps from your old office, that nice lady selling ice cream in your hometown, your favorite bar where you used to hang out on the weekends with friends. Certainly they will still be there, but seeing them on a regular basis will be a thing of the past. And that is the part of the moving abroad journey that might suck, to be honest with you. But on the other hand, you're discovering new favorite spots to hang out, you're making new friends and doing new things. There will definitely be things from your home country that will be irreplaceable, that you just will never get anywhere else but in your home country or hometown. But you will definitely not miss everything. For me, for instance, load shedding is one of those things that I definitely do not miss at all. And the cold weather in the winter is another thing. And then obviously the safety aspect. Number 4, it will be hard to make new friends. This is probably one of the major worries people, and especially younger people, have when looking into moving abroad. In today's life, with so many ways to connect with others online, you can easily make friends even before you set foot in your new country. There are Facebook groups that you can join, meetups you can check out, and various other online sources. Some of your friends and family members could also connect you with people that they might know in the country that you're moving to. If you think about it, it might actually be easier to make friends in your new country, since many of the people who have moved abroad have similar outlooks and interests. So it's possible to have a thriving social life with like-minded people that you can build a lifelong friendship with. Number 5, you don't need to learn the language. Well, to be honest with you, this is actually not a myth. It is quite possible, and people do it all the time, where they've been living in a new country for years without knowing the local language. There are some places that have thriving expat and immigrant communities that speak the same language. You will also find that a lot of cities that cater to international travelers have a lot of locals who speak multiple languages. That being said though, in most instances, you're just making life more difficult for yourself if you don't even understand the most basic of phrases in the new language. A good reason to learn the new language is so that you can enjoy the local culture and feel like you're more a part of it. On a more practical side, some of the services and vendors that you're going to interact with might only speak their local language. This means that you will probably have to either wait for someone to help you translate things, which may take up some time, and the vendor might not be so patient, or you could use a translation app on your phone, which may also take some time. Even though it may take a while, learning a new language when moving abroad will definitely enrich your experience, and you'll thank yourself for it later. Number 6, you will be the only English-speaking person around. Unless you decide to move to an island where people have not had any contact with the outside world in the last 5 million years, this is simply just crazy. You're more than likely to encounter people, whether they're local or tourists, that are fluent or at least have a basic understanding of English. You will also find that companies in more popular expat and touristy areas tend to employ staff that are bi or multilingual. As mentioned in the previous myth, that an understanding of the local language can help tons, you should definitely not be put off if you can't speak the local language. The best way of picking up a language is often by doing. So your spoken ability and understanding of the language is likely to improve simply by living amongst and interacting with the locals. Number 7, your first stop will be your forever home. The first place that you end up moving into when you move abroad is probably not going to be your forever home. You may move to a specific country, travel to another country, and find that you actually like that country more. I'd say that it's definitely a myth that you have to know exactly where you'll stay permanently just because you move abroad. You just never know where you might end up. Number 8, you can just figure things out after you move. While this may not be entirely untrue, since so many people have done this and made a success of their move abroad, you have to keep in mind though that things do not always work out the way we planned. There are so many things to consider when moving, especially if you have kids and elderly parents or family members depending on you. You will also find that some issues related to moving abroad also tend to change frequently. Visas and the paperwork surrounding it can be a bit of a nightmare, and paperwork in general is always a nightmare. Remember that moving abroad is no small task, and it's best to have some sort of stability when you do so. Having a roof over your head, knowing where you can go for help if it's needed, and maybe even just knowing someone before you move can make the move so much easier. There are a lot of myths about what it's actually like moving abroad and how it should be done. Moving abroad can be an exciting and enriching experience, or it could turn into your worst nightmare. If you plan properly and you're realistic in your expectations, it will be a lot better than some fantasy. Number 9, you need to be rich to move abroad. Well, I'm definitely not rich. So there's that. Of course, it would help a lot if you had an endless supply of money when making a move abroad. But there are tons of youngsters moving abroad, fresh out of school, with fairly low budgets who accept entry-level positions. So you definitely do not need to be rich to make a move abroad. What you do need, however, is to be smart when it comes to your finances. Make sure you have a budget and that you pace your spending according to that budget. Don't look at what everyone around you is doing or what they're spending their money on. You need to make sure that you don't run out of money before you earn your first paycheck or your first salary. And this doesn't just apply to moving abroad actually. In reality, it really doesn't matter where you live, be it overseas or in your home country. You need to know how to budget in order to live comfortably. You will also find that some countries might offer a much more affordable lifestyle compared to your home country. A good idea is to start saving up in advance so that you're ready when you land in the country that you settled on. Number 10. Other countries are less safe than your home country. I think for a lot of people, especially those who have kids, safety and crime rates are often one of the key considerations when it comes to choosing a new country to move to. I mean, you can ask any South African living abroad, especially here in Thailand, and they'll tell you that when it comes to safety, Thailand is far safer than South Africa. And I would have to agree with that. I mean, even when I lived in Vietnam, I could walk alone from a club or a restaurant at 3 or 4 in the morning and not feel unsafe at all while I lived in Vietnam, and the same year in Thailand. I would not even dare do that if I'm back home in South Africa. Now, in no way, shape or form am I saying that there's absolutely no crime in Thailand. Of course there is. There's not a country on the face of the earth that does not have some type of criminal element to it, be it corruption or serious violent crimes. But compared to most people's home countries, I'd say the country they end up choosing is in most instances far safer than where they're from. Those are the 10 myths about living abroad. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing from you. Until the next video, bye bye.